If you want to live how most people can't, then you gotta do what most people won't. As humans, we're wired to resist change, because why fix what isn't broken? At least that's what we think. Because globally, most people actually hate their jobs, either because of people, the commute, low salary, or in most cases, they just don't like the work they're doing. So wouldn't it be amazing to be free every 9 to 5 and be financially free to do whatever you want regardless of the pay? Well, in order to reach that financial freedom, things need to change. So in this video, we'll be going over 8 habits you need to break in order to reach those money goals. Hey, I'm Kevin, and on this channel, we talk strategies to help you along on a financial journey. If you want to break free from the rat race and reach financial freedom, let me know by smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get started. So habit number 1 to break, which will undermine everything else we talk about in this video, is underestimating yourself. So many times do I see people think they'll never make it or think that they'll ever reach financial freedom. In fact, a whopping 42% of people don't invest because they believe they don't have enough money to do so. And I blame that on the current educational system. It's so unfortunate that this isn't taught in schools, because nowadays with so many services and apps out there, you can invest in things like fractional shares, meaning you can buy a fraction of, say, Apple stock instead of buying the entire stock. And with that, investing could never be easier. Then there are other reasons, like thinking they're not smart enough, or being overwhelmed so they shy away, or only realizing that investing is important when it's too late. For me, I think when I first got into investing, my parents were pretty skeptical because they thought that you needed a degree from business school or something to manage money like that. The longer you put off your finances, the more it'll matter over time. So trust me when I say that you can do it. Just put in some time every day or every week to start chipping off at the basics of investing. Once you start understanding some of the basics, let the snowball keep rolling and build on top of that foundation. Habit number 2 to break is not being organized. They say that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that is so true for your finances. I mean, how do you know what to fix if you don't even know what's broken? What you want to do is keep track of where all your money is going, from the time you get paid to your bills, your rent, your spending, and of course your savings. Personally, I use a site called Personal Capital that keeps track of all my accounts in one place, giving me an easy way to digest an overview of where all my money is flowing, including the value of all my investment accounts as well. Other popular services would be services like mint.com or YNAB, You Need a Budget. Once you have all your spend laid out, then you can easily comb through and find out what are all the things you're unnecessarily spending on. Maybe you have a ton of subscriptions that you don't even use anymore. Cancel them. Or maybe you have a lot of Uber rides and Lyft rides. Well, maybe you should consider walking, getting a bike, or even using public transit, which would probably be cheaper and you get exercise. Maybe you see a ton of food delivery charges. Well, it's probably time where you learn how to cook and make food for yourself. Guilty. All right, so on to habit number 3 that you want to break is spending what you can afford and not understanding debt. If you take a look at the average credit card debt across the US, some of the worst states have almost $8,000 on average, with the average across the US being $6,500. Again, I think that learning how to properly use credit cards should be something taught in schools, but because it's not, you have me. Treat your credit card as basically an interest-free loan of just a few weeks, or a way to collect those sweet credit card points. If you had, say, $1,000 in your bank account allocated to the spending, then just spend $1,000 on your credit card. Never pay a dime in interest, meaning pay off your bill in full every single month, because credit card debt is notoriously known to have extremely high interest rates, as high as 20-30%. Not all debt is bad though. Contrary to what Dave Ramsey says, if you can understand how to properly use debt, you can actually use it in your favor. For example, if you can lock in a mortgage rate of 2-3% over 30 years, that's amazing, because with inflation being at least 2-3%, you're basically getting an interest-free loan. Yet your home will continue to appreciate in value, earning you more equity. Next up, with so many external influences like social media, lots of people have habit number 4, which is spending to look rich instead of actually being rich. I mean, do you really think that this t-shirt is valued at almost $500? No, you're basically just a walking advertisement. I'll admit, there was a time when I thought that these big expensive brand logos were nice, especially back in the days where True Religion jeans were popular. But nowadays, I try and stick to high quality items. Then you'll also want to avoid lifestyle creep, because as your income grows, you don't want your spend to also grow at the same rate, because then you're basically at the same financial situation. Instead, as your income grows, try and keep your expenses around the same and use the increase of income and that difference to invest instead. Now, if you really want to buy these pieces, like name brand pieces or even things that are more reasonable, try taking a look at the secondhand or used market. There's places like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, or eBay that do exactly this. You'd be surprised at how many things out there are barely used, if at all, but selling for a fraction of the price that you would have to pay for if you were buying it new. Heck, there's even factory certified or refurbished items that are basically new. For example, I got a factory certified Vitamix blender for half off, and it's basically operating as new for the past couple of years I've had it. And this goes for big ticket items like cars as well. I have a friend who recently leased an SUV who was initially quoted at over $700 a month. But after some research and negotiating, she was able to get a previously loaned out SUV for just $450 a month. That's a savings of over $9,000 over the 3-year lease period for just a few hours of research. On the environmental side, buying secondhand also gives things another life cycle instead of being thrown out. Just extending the average life of clothes by 3 months can reduce the carbon, water, and waste footprint by 5 to 10%. Alright, so bad habit number 6 to break is not learning or not starting your investment journey early enough. With so many hours in the day, you should be able to carve out time every day or every week to start learning and gaining knowledge on investing and personal finance. I mean, the basics are pretty straightforward and can be summarized as having an emergency fund, contributing to your retirement accounts so you pay less taxes overall using vehicles like a 401k or a personal IRA account, and then contributing to index funds that track the overall market, like Vanguard's VTI that tracks the total stock market index. And really, that's all the basics. Of course, you'll want to do some more research into each of these topics. And if you want to learn more, I'll link some videos that I've done on the topics up in the top right corner and down in the description. The reason you want to start as early as possible is because of compound interest. I know I've talked a ton about this in a lot of my videos, but that's just because it's so important. By starting early, you're able to use the time you have to let your money grow. For example, if you started investing at 30 instead of 20, that could mean a difference of a couple $1 million by retirement. That's not a small amount. And if you do find yourself interested in things like investing and personal finance, then there's so many new areas that you can look into. From things like pre-IPO companies, individual stocks, angel investing, to crypto and DeFi. There's always more to learn. Speaking of investing, habit number 7 to break is not understanding taxes. The typical income that you earn is usually the amount that gets hit the hardest from your taxes, but there are ways to reduce that. Tools like the retirement 401k or the IRA accounts are there to incentivize you to invest for the long term, because instead of being taxed both the money you put in and the money you earn from those investments, with those accounts, you're only taxed at one of the ends. For more info on those type of accounts, check out my video in the top right corner and down in the description. Then there's not understanding how capital gains taxes work. Basically, if you bought and sold an investment that you've held for less than a year, then that gain is taxed at your ordinary income, which could be as high as 30, 40, 50%. But instead, if you had held that investment for over a year, you're paying long-term capital gains tax, which is only 15 to 20% tax. That saves you a ton in taxes. And finally, you have to understand how tax brackets work. For example, far too many people think that if you make even $1 over the current tax bracket, say $40,526, then that entire amount would be taxed at the higher 22% tax bracket, causing you to actually lose money. That is not true. How it actually works is all the money up to $40,525 is taxed at the lower 12% rate, and that extra $1 that you made over the bracket is the money that's taxed at the higher 22% tax rate. You never lose money by making more money, because if you did, that just That just doesn't sound right. Lastly, habit number 8 you want to break is thinking too much in the short term. Because in the investing and the personal finance world, you should be thinking in the long term, in the multi-year or even multi-decade time horizon. And also practice delayed gratification. If you overspend and blow all your money now, 10 years from now, you're gonna look back at yourself and think, why didn't you set yourself up for a financial success and learn and invest even just a little bit? As I was scripting this video out, I was actually pretty surprised when I looked back at my own investing journey and realized that I got into this game around 6 to 7 years ago and got into it more seriously when I bought my first individual stock about 4 years ago. Time flies. Even for everyday things, if you think you really want something, put it off for maybe a week or two and come back to it and see if you really want it. More often than not, the excitement wears off and you won't want that thing anymore, saving you money which you could instead put into more investing. Or maybe you're so deep into investing that just the act of buying and holding or looking at investment opportunities is enough to get that excitement. I mean, with the recent GME, AMC, and meme stock pumps, as well as things going on in the crypto and DeFi space, there's just so much going on. There's a saying that goes, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And that is so true for investing. Think for the long term and you'll be good. Like I said in the beginning, you'll have to do what most people won't in order to live how most people can. It's shocking how many people have little to no knowledge about investing or personal finance, which is why I make these videos, to share the knowledge that I've gathered over the years. You have to believe that you can do this and reach financial success, however you may define that to be. Maybe it's retiring early, or this is actually a hobby of yours. Either way, there are certain skill sets that you need to build in order to reach those goals. And also, like we mentioned in this video, a lot of habits that you want to break, which could be causing you thousands, if not even millions over the long run. Remember compound interest? It goes both ways. Speaking of compound interest, do you want to be able to save on everything you buy so you can put those savings into investments to compound over time? Well, I have a video basically breaking down how I'm getting a discount on everything I buy up in the top right corner and down in the description. Or if you're new to investing and want to know where to start, I have an entire playlist on that I'll link down below as well. Anyways, if you watched this video all the way through, thank you so much. And I hope that by watching through this, you can recognize if you're guilty of any of these habits and work to break them sooner than later. I wish you all financial success in the future, and as always, invest safe and see you in the next one.